Welcome to 100 Pounds Down, where we preach the gospel of GLP-1 and the word is good. This is your GLP-1 news update for the work week ending in March 1st, 2024. On February 28th, 2024, Weight Watchers announced that at its May 9th annual shareholder meeting, Oprah would not seek re-election to its board of directors. WW also indicated that at that time, they would also reduce the number of seats on the board by one. In discussing the decision, Oprah had the following to say: "I look forward to continuing to advise and collaborate with Weight Watchers and CEO Seema Sistani in elevating the conversation around recognizing obesity as a chronic condition, working to reduce stigma, and advocating for health equity. Weight health is a critically important topic and one that needs to be addressed at a broader scale. I plan to participate in a number of public forums and events where I will be a vocal advocate in advancing this conversation. In addition, I have decided to donate my interest in Weight Watchers to the National Museum of African American History and Culture. I have been a longtime supporter of this worthy organization, and I am proud to continue my support." Weight Watchers noted that Oprah's decision was in line with supporting the museum's goal of promoting and highlighting the contributions of African Americans. Oprah has previously made donations to the nonprofit and is featured in one of its exhibits. She also intends to donate the proceeds from any future exercises of her Weight Watchers stock options to the museum. This decision also allows the media mogul to eliminate any perceived conflicts of interest around her taking weight loss medications. That's the news. Now, this is the opinion. Unfortunately, after hearing the news about Oprah making this decision to not run for re-election to the board of directors for Weight Watchers shares dropped 20%. That typically shows that there is shaky confidence in investors' beliefs in a company. Although both Weight Watchers and Oprah reassured investors that she would continue to be involved with the company and that she had faith in the company and would continue to collaborate with them, it couldn't stop a drop in the stock. Here's why I think this is much ado about nothing. And to give you a little background on this, I will again kind of talk briefly about some of the legal ramifications of what's going on here. Given that Oprah first joined the board of Weight Watchers in 2015, and she is known for her struggles with weight, her partnership with that organization and what that organization has typically sold to the people who use their services, which is weight loss plans, could possibly, as they mentioned, have a conflict of interest given the fact that Oprah has been using weight loss medications. Now, is there actually a conflict of interest? My opinion is no, that there actually isn't. And one of the reasons that I believe this is because of a purchase that Weight Watchers WW International made last year. In April of 2023, WW actually purchased Sequence. Now, for those of you who don't know what Sequence is, Sequence was one of the largest weight loss telehealth companies operating in the United States. People can use Sequence to speak with a medical professional, a doctor, who then has the ability to prescribe them Ozempic, Mounjaro, Wegovy, Zepbound, that type of GLP-1 medication. And so seeing the writing on the wall, because this is absolutely a revolution that is coming with GLP-1 medications, Weight Watchers said, if you can't beat them, join them. And so they purchased Sequence in April 2023 and rebrand Sequence as its own Weight Watchers anti-obesity medication venture. So the fact that Oprah is using GLP-1 medication to lose weight, in my personal opinion, doesn't really seem like it is a conflict of interest, given that this company absolutely has a weight loss medication venture within the folds of its organization. Having said that, Most companies that want to abide by the SEC rules are typically going to be much more careful and lean toward doing whatever is possible so as not to attract negative attention from the SEC or possibly be cited for doing something that runs afoul of securities trading rules. Now, to give a little bit of a contrast of this situation, we can look at the situation where the SEC went after Elon Musk based on statements that he had made in 2018. So in 2018, Elon Musk had flirted with the idea and kind of announced on Twitter that he could possibly take Tesla private for $420 a share. Making a statement like that, they believed that he was engaging in securities fraud. So securities fraud can take many different forms, but one of those forms is misleading investors by statements or actions that a person can make. As the head of Tesla, Elon Musk has a huge amount of power. And so making this statement that he was seriously entertaining and planning on taking Tesla off of the market and going back to being a non-publicly traded organization at a certain amount of money, when in reality, behind the scenes, there were many contingencies that would have to fall into place and be ready to go for that to actually happen. The extent of the difference between the behind the scenes reality and what he was saying on Twitter was large enough that the SEC decided to go after him for securities fraud. And that ultimately was settled before it got to the point where they would essentially prosecute him for that fraud. But in that settlement, both Tesla and Elon had to cough up $20 million apiece. So it was an extremely expensive, one could say, mistake. I could argue, given some of the things that we've seen Elon Musk do in the recent past, maybe not a mistake, and probably one of the reasons, if I were to speculate, that the SEC went after him in the first place. Now, in contrast with someone who was playing a bit more fast and loose in that manner, we see here Weight Watchers and Oprah going the very careful, very calculated route of making sure that everything is above board, that there absolutely is no appearance that there is a conflict of interest, because in the event that there were a conflict of interest, that would open up Weight Watchers and Oprah to possibly being sued by shareholders of WW International. Now, again, in my opinion, I don't believe that Oprah had a conflict of interest. But many times, legal counsel for various companies will take a look at the situation that is occurring, and they will advise their clients to take a route that is less risky. Now, by being able to step down from the board of directors, Oprah is still able to leverage her media power, her star power, her influence as a spokesperson, as a collaborator with WW. So I think that after, the dust settles within a few days, weeks, months, as we see that Oprah continues to be interactive and work with Weight Watchers, they do have a new special that they will have in May, where she will sit down with a large group of individuals and really talk about getting rid of that stigma around this weight issue. So for all intents and purposes, I don't think that this is actually an issue or a problem. I don't think that Oprah has lost confidence in the company. I think that knowing how the legal system works and how the SEC works, that Weight Watchers is just being very careful to make sure that there's not even the whiff of impropriety. Now, this doesn't really have anything to do with this idea of insider trading, but usually the thing that people who don't really have a real background in the law around securities, the thing everybody talks about and thinks about is this idea of insider trading. So, what is insider trading? Insider trading simply is when an insider, and that's a term of art when we're talking about securities and publicly traded commodities and stocks and things like that. An insider is essentially a person of extreme importance to a publicly traded company. So that could be a director, it could be an officer, a board member, anyone who has 10% or more of the holdings of a particular stock. Anyone who's considered an insider has additional rules that they have to follow in order to ensure that there's fair dealing within the stock market. Because one of the things that I like to say jokingly with friends of mine is that the stock market is literally nothing but vibes. When you especially look at society right now and how, despite the fact that for a while with the economy and how things were going, that prices of things were going up and people were really suffering and unemployment and things like that were occurring, but the stock market was still going up. It is very apparent nowadays that the stock market is absolutely not reflective of what's really happening in the economy. And it really starts to really lie bare the truth that the stock market is literally just vibes. And so it's already a game in and of itself that is kind of speculative. And so within that speculative game, they're saying, well, let's at least try to make it somewhat fair, even though the whole thing is vibes. And so there are lots of rules around what people who are closely associated with publicly traded companies are and are not allowed to do. And one of the things they're not allowed to do is to use insider information, material information. So stuff that would likely have an impact or cause people to make moves in the market related to that particular organization's stock. You cannot use your insider material information to advantage yourself in relation to your stock. So the timing of this announcement also kind of ties into that idea. When you're trying to make sure that you're not engaging in any kind of insider trading or any kind of securities fraud, you want to be very careful around what you're doing and the timing of what you're doing. So generally, there's kind of a safe window where anyone who is considered an insider for an organization, there's a period where they are allowed to make big money moves with the stock that they hold in their own company or the company that they're affiliated with. And so this donation of all of the shares that Oprah currently holds in WW International will take place during that particular window. Any stock options that Oprah has will be exercised when they essentially become active. And I don't have the time to talk about what options are. If Google what are stock options and how do they work, and you'll be able to pull up quite a lot of information that gets into that. I am not the person you want to go to for your stock news. I can give you kind of the basic information to give you an understanding of why in this particular story, what I'm telling you about, why it's important and how it fits together. But yeah, financial law, that is not my area generally. So that's why and how this is important. It's also why I think people are being a little bit short-sighted when the stock fell on hearing this news, because in reality, Oprah is going to continue her alliance with WW, and anything that happens with the stock that she currently has is definitely going to be put to good use in that donation. And they have a business within their own company, they have a vertical where they are themselves getting into the GLP-1 prescription game. So I don't, again, personally think that Oprah had a conflict of interest, but if it even smells like it could even consider being something where someone can make the argument, sometimes you'll be asked to make that move just on a proactive level, just so you can make sure that you're crossing every T, dotting every I. So that is the T on the news in GLP-1s. If you find this information helpful and you want to hear about the newest news in medications like Mounjaro, Zepbound, Wegovy, and beyond, stay tuned to this channel, and hit that trifecta: like, subscribe, notifications, and I'll see you on the other side.